Saya wonum marin pinja hamen tibisol maka sama lihat. Lena, 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 Lena.
Welcome to Lesson 6 in the Mountain Maidu language class. Today we'll add to our dialogue and then we'll review when to add "n" onto the end of words, and finally we'll learn when not to add "n". Let's start with our dialogue. Last time you learned homonym makare. Who is it? If I told you the word for knock is bukuk, how would you say who is knocking? Homonym bukukade. See if you can say it so we know how many K's are in that word. Repeat. Homonym bukukade. Homonym bukukade. You know how to answer. I answer kmkán. What will you answer? Now tell me to come on in. I hope you said yun pin. Now ask me, how are things in your country? I hope you said hesasakare minki kodoidi. Hesasakare minki kodoidi. My answer is yahakan. Now ask me, how is your family? I hope you said hesasakare minki heskatom. My answer is yahakan. Now ask me, are you hungry? You said oka. My answer is wiye hesmen pekas. No, I already ate. And then I say amet momsukas. That means, but I'm thirsty. Repeat. Amet momsukas. Amet momsukas. Then you're going to say momi méidato. Have some water, or here is some water. Repeat. Momi méidato. Méidato doesn't actually mean have some or here is. It means take what I am offering you or take what I am handing to you. But it sounds better to translate it as have some water or here is some water instead of take the water that I am offering you. Let's repeat it again. Momi méidato. Here's some water. Now say thank you. I hope you said nikyahati ankano. Please add these new questions and answers to your dialogue and practice until you know it by heart. Last time I mentioned what I call equal sign verbs. If you remember, kmkán is an equal sign verb. In other words, it acts just like an equal sign in a sentence. Equal sign verbs are words like is, are, was, will be, used to be, and so forth. Mostly forms of ka or ma, like kmkán, kkas, kaankano, makare, maka, and makán. We learned how to say méidom kmkán, it is a man, but how would you say he is a man? Remember that can either mean the or he. So to say he is a man, you put the kmkán in between he and man, just like English. kmkán méidom. Repeat. kmkán méidom. Now you can really see the equal sign functionality of the verb kmkán. And the unique thing about equal sign verbs is that there is a subject on both sides of the equal sign. Both he and man are the subjects of kmkán, and they both have to end in M. How would you say the man is a leader? Méidom kmkán yaponim. Repeat. Méidom kmkán yaponim. Notice that both méidom and yaponim end in M. They're both subjects of the verb kmkán. Let's listen to some native speakers say sentences like this. Listen to Dan Williams say, "The footprint is visible," talking about Creator's footprint. Solo means shoe, but can also mean footprint. Chetipem means visible. You can hear the word che, meaning see, in the word chetipem, visible. Please repeat after him.
Solongakan, katipam.
Notice that both sides of the kmkán equation end in M, solom and chetipem. Listen to Mame Gallagher say, "My father is a white man." Repeat after her.
Nick Beckham, kmkán méidom.
Notice that the words Nick Beckham, my father, and méidom, man, both end in M. My father equals man. Wédam ends in M for a different reason, because it is describing méidom, man. So it's a describing word, and we have to remember that describing words also end in M. There are two main rules for ending in M: describing words and subjects of the sentence. Let's listen to one more equal sign sentence with several describing words. Here's Dan Williams saying, "It is the tobacco habitat mountain lake."
Kmkán panim misim yamanim pakanim.
In this sentence, which are the describing words and which are the two subjects? Can you tell the difference? They all end in M, but for two different reasons. For the two subjects, I hope you said that mum, it, and pakanim, lake, are the two subjects. These are the two sides of the kmkán equation, so both have to end in M. All the words in front of pakanim are describing pakanim, lake, so they end in M for a different reason. Remember that describing words that come before a noun all have to end in M, and they act like a chain hooking them to the word they're describing. So, I hope you said that panim, bisim, and yamanim are describing words, even though all of these could be nouns on their own. In this sentence, they are describing pakanim, lake. To summarize, there are two different reasons we add an M to the end of a word. One, the subject of the sentence, the one doing the action, ends in M. With kmkán or other equal sign verbs, as we just saw, there can be one subject on either side of the kmkán, and then they both end in M. The second reason for adding an M is describing words, including the and numbers. They end in M, leading up to the noun they are describing. We'll be working on this over and over, so don't worry if you don't completely get it yet. When we started learning the action verbs, we focused on the verb, which is the action, and who is doing the action, which is the subject. Now we're going to learn about the object of a sentence. We can think of the subject of a sentence as a pitcher in a baseball game. The pitcher is doing the action of the sentence, throwing, so the pitcher is the subject. And in this case, the pitcher is throwing something, a ball. The ball is not doing the action of throwing. It really has no choice in the whole situation. The ball is the object of the sentence. The subject of the sentence, the pitcher, ends in M, but the object of the sentence, the ball, does not end in M. In English, we don't add anything to the noun, whether it's the subject or the object. But in English, we show what's the subject by putting it first in the sentence. Then we say the verb, and finally the object. So that's how we know which is which in English. The picture, subject, through, verb, the ball, object. In Maidu, the words can be in all different orders, and they might even seem jumbled up when you're first learning. So the only way to tell what is the subject and what is the object is whether or not they end in M. Listen to Herb Young say, I translated a few.
Helú, símmoluskasi.
Remember that helú means a few. Símbolus means translate. Repeat after him. I translated a few.
Helú, símmoluskasi.
What is the subject of the sentence? Helú, símmoluskasi. Who is doing the action of translating? The answer is I. Of course, that happens to be Herb Young, but he's referring to himself, saying, I am translating a few. How do we know this? From the kasi ending, meaning I did. Helú does not end in M. It's not doing action, and it's not describing. Repeat after him. I translated a few.
Helú, símmoluskasi.
Now listen to Mame Gallagher say, my dog bit the man.
Nikki sum as Maidu dokan. Nikki sum as Maidu dokan.
In this sentence, Mame Gallagher is using the emphasizer as to emphasize the previous word, dog. In English, we would just say the word louder, dog. But in Maidu, we add as after the word we want to emphasize. The verb daw means bite. Daw. Repeat. Daw. I'll play it again, and please repeat.
Nikki sum as Maidu dokan.
Notice that Maida doesn't end in M. It's not doing the action. He's not the one biting, and therefore does not end in M. Listen to Mame Gallagher ask a question. What does it mean?
Wepa pinka.
You know that pinka is asking a question because of the ka ending. The answer is, did you hear a coyote? Wepa, coyote, has no M, so you know the coyote is not doing the action of hearing. Who is doing the action? You. Pinka means, did you hear? If you did put an M on wepa, what would the sentence mean? Wépam pinka? It would mean, coyote, did you hear? Talking to coyote. He would then be the subject, and also he would be the you. See how that works? So, wepa pinka, did you hear a coyote? You are doing the action of hearing. Coyote is the object that's not participating. Now let's listen to Mame Gallagher say another sentence with a subject and object. Even though this sentence contains a verb you haven't learned yet, can you tell which word is the verb or action? How do you know? The answer is kmkán is the action. You can tell it's the verb because of the kán ending, and that shows that he, she, or it is doing something. Pewekoi means go around eating. This is the action. Can you tell who is doing the action going along eating? The one doing the action is sapam, a rat. We know that because it ends in M. Although it is the first word in the sentence like English subjects, that won't always be the case. There's one more word in the sentence, hesi. We have learned hesi as what in questions, but when it's not in a question, it means something. Notice hesi does not have an M on the end, so it is the object of the sentence, the passive thing that is not going around eating. So, what does the sentence mean? It means a rat is going around eating something. Let's try adding objects to some sentences. In Maidu, the object usually comes before the verb, although not always. So what does this mean? Kutata chekas. I see a bird. Repeat. Kutata chekas. What is the subject of the sentence, kutata chekas? Who is doing the action? The answer is I. We know that because of the kas ending. I am doing the action of seeing. Kutata chekas. I see a bird. Kutata has no M, so we know it's the object. It has no choice in the matter. It's not the one doing the activity. If you added an M to kutata, it would mean I, as a bird, saw. Both I and kutatum would be the subject of the sentence. What does this mean? Momi mokas. I drank water. Repeat. Momi mokas. I drank water. What is the subject? I. How do you know? I hope you said I is the subject and you know because the verb ends in gas. What is the object of the sentence? Momi. You know this, it does not have an M on it. So momi is the object. I drank water. Momi mokas. What does this mean? Maida pakal kas. Do you remember pakal is pay? Maida pakal kas. Why is there an M on mum? There's an M on mum because it is a describing word for Maida, the man. So, what does the sentence mean? Mum Maida pakal kas. I paid the man. No M on Maida. That's the one that you paid. What does this mean? Wédam soli sol. Remember, when you just say the verb with no ending, like sol, you're telling somebody to do it. And what are you telling them to do? You're telling them to sing some big-time songs or sing a big-time song. Wédam soli can either be big-time song or big-time songs. Why is there an M on wédam? Because it's a describing word for soli, song or songs. So let's repeat this sentence. Wédam soli sol. Sing some big-time songs or sing a big-time song. What does this mean? Mumpubim makopekon. What is the subject? Pubim. What is the object? Mako. So what does the sentence mean? The sentence means the boy ate fish. Mumpubim mako pekan. Repeat. Mumpubim mako pekan. What does this mean? Mum tetem wepam sum mum chulalak pem kutatem chekan. Well, what's the subject? You could say wédam sum, dog, or you could just say sum is the subject. And what is the object? Kutata is the object, has no M on it. And what is the action? Kmkán. And then there are some describing words. Tetem wédam sum. The big dog. Chulalak kutata. The yellow bird. He saw. Kmkán. So, what does it mean? The big dog saw the yellow bird. So, let's repeat this sentence. Tetem wédam sum, chulalak kutata, Kmkán. Again. Tetem wédam sum, chulalak kutata, Kmkán. Gets complicated when you add the describing words in, and you still have to remember the subject has an M and the object does not have an M. What does this mean? Sapam bedakin kalem kmkán. Can you see what the subject is? The three young women. Sapam bedakin kalem. Kalem has an M on it. Pine. What does that mean? Do you remember? Lunch. And it has no M. Kmkán, ate. So, what does the sentence mean? The three young women ate lunch. So let's repeat that sentence. Sapam bedakin kalem kmkán. What does this mean? Inyana wéakán. It means he spoke Indian. Repeat. Inyana wéakán. He spoke Indian. Inyana wéakán. Now, why doesn't it mean the Indian spoke? That would be what? To make the Indian the subject, or an Indian. How would you say an Indian spoke? Inyanam wéakán. You'd have to put an M on the end of inyana to make it the subject. Inyanam wéakán. Repeat. Inyanam wéakán. So without the M, it means he spoke Indian, Inyana wéakán. But Inyanam wéakán with the M on Inyanam means an Indian spoke. So see what difference an M makes in the meaning. He spoke Indian or the Indian spoke. There used to be a song, What a Difference a Day Makes. You could sing a song about Maidu, what a difference an M makes. Okay, here's another one. Listen to Roxy Paconim and see if you can figure out what she's saying.
Méidom, Maidu, no kmkán.
Maida is human or humans. You know méidom. You know what a méidom is, right? méidom. Méidom, Maida, no kmkán. What is the action of the sentence? Now, I know you don't know the verb no, but you can recognize the ending, maybe, ankano, from Nikyahati ankano. That's the ending that means you do. So, you know that's the action. The whole word chehehe no min maankano means don't go looking around at. And that is the action of the sentence. So let's try to repeat this very long verb. I mean, this is typical in Maidu that you get some really, really long words. Chehehe no min maankano. Repeat. Chehehe no min maankano. That means don't go looking around at. Chehehe no min maankano. So, now back to the sentence. Huska méidom, ona maida, chehehe no min maankano. What does that mean? It means, you, Mr. Snake, don't be going around looking at humans. This is what people say at the bear dance. Huska maida. Huska maida, Mr. Snake or Snake Man. Don't go around looking at humans. Wona maida, no M at the end. That's who he's looking at. So, Mr. Snake is the subject of the sentence, and he's also you in the sentence. So I wanted you to see how complex it can get when you throw in a subject and object, and each one has describing words attached to it. Makika, do you understand? Heh. But wait, there can also be another kind of object, someone receiving the action. What if you wanted to say the pitcher threw the catcher the ball? In English, we can say this two ways. The pitcher threw the ball to the catcher, or just the pitcher threw the catcher the ball. Back to our comparison of a sentence to baseball, where there is a pitcher, which is the subject of the sentence, the one doing the action, and the throw, which is that verb or action. Then there is the ball, which is just being thrown or caught without having any say in the matter, which we have just learned is the object. Technically, this one is called the direct object. Now we're introducing the catcher, which is receiving the action. The catcher is technically called the indirect object. You could add to in front of this type of object. He threw the ball to the catcher. In Maidu, both types of object do not take M at the end. In case of confusion, there are ways to add to, like in English, which we will learn in an upcoming lesson. But for now, let's learn how to figure it out just based on M or no M. Let's listen to Maimed Gallagher say a sentence with both types of objects.
Mungklemas Maidu inyanamlolomeka.
Again, Maimed Gallagher is using the emphasizer as after the word woman. To translate this into English, we just say woman louder. Mungklemas Maida inyanam lolo mekan. Since you know all the words in this sentence, what do you think she's saying? The answer is, the woman gave the man an Indian basket. Let's play it again and repeat after her.
Mungklemas Maidu inyanamlolomeka.
It was almost impossible to find examples from native speakers just using verb forms we already learned, so bear with me. You will be learning about the dom form of the verb pretty soon. Dom is a lot like the ing ending in English, ing. So we could say soldom for singing and pedom for eating. Listen to Roxy Paconum say a sentence with two objects.
Kmkán, paní, méidom.
You know what paní means, right? And the verb me, which means give, and nik means me. Kmkán nik paní méidom. Now I'll play it again and see if you know what she's saying.
Kmkán, paní, méidom.
She said, she is giving me tobacco. Both me and tobacco are objects. Which one is the catcher and which one is the ball? Paní, tobacco, is like the ball, and Nick, me, is like the catcher. You could say to me. That's how you know it's like the catcher. In these sentences with more than one type of object, the indirect object, the receiver, comes before the direct object, which is the same order as we have in English. He threw the catcher the ball. Let's practice some sentences with a noun subject and both types of objects. Start with the subject who is doing the action. Then say the objects and save the verb for last. I will say a sentence in English. Try to say it in Maidu before I show it on the screen. And see if you got it right. The good leader gave money to the group of people. Yaham yaponim méidom bomo liani kmkán. Which words have M because they are describing words? I hope you said yaham, and méidom are all describing words. What is the subject of the sentence, the one doing the action of giving? I hope you said yaponim. What are the two objects? I hope you said méidom bomo, group of men, which is the indirect object, and liani, money, which is the direct object. How would you say, the little boy brought food to the little girl? The verb for bring is Lahaie. Repeat, Lahaie. So how would you say he brought? kmkán. Repeat, kmkán. Remember the word for food? Pak. Now say the sentence in Maidu. The little boy brought food to the little girl, or the little boy brought the little girl food. Tibim tem tibim kmkán kmkán. Repeat. Tibim tem tibim kmkán kmkán. How would you say the old man gave flowers to the bad woman, or the old man gave the bad woman flowers? Moisem moisang kmkán kmkán. Repeat. Moisem moisang kmkán kmkán. How would you say, the woman gave the child some water? Kalem te kmkán. Kalem te kmkán. How would you say the woman understands the language? Wédam is language. Kalem wédam kmkán. Repeat. Kalem wédam kmkán. Chati means show. How would you say, one woman showed some other woman a basket? Sutin kalem chayin kale lolo chatikan. Repeat. Sutin kalem chayin kale lolo chatikan. Even though the subject of the sentence often comes first, like English, and the main verb usually comes last, there's a lot of variation. So you have to be able to find the verb based on the ending, the subject of the verb based on am, and describing words based on am, and then objects based on no am. I haven't talked much about this book, the grammar book, yet. This was the first book I wrote, which was mainly written for our little class after our teacher had passed away in 2013. In 2015, I revised it to include some greetings, which weren't even in the first book because our class already knew a lot of these things. At that time, I fixed some mistakes and tried to explain things for a wider audience. We are on lesson 6 in this video course, but in the grammar book, all that we've been learning up to now was covered in the first 2 lessons of the grammar book. So yes, I was going a little too fast in the book, but the students it was written for had already been learning Maidu for a while. All of this about the subject, verb, objects, and describing words, and whether or not to put am on the end of a word is kind of confusing, so I'd like to give you some homework. Go over the first 2 lessons in the grammar book and do the exercises. There are the answers right there, but don't look at them until you've tried it out. And that will show you whether or not you understand all that we've learned so far. There's a vocabulary list for each of the first 2 lessons that is different from what we've learned so far. More words, but isn't it good to have more words? Just add them to your flashcards and try to memorize those too. I hope to revise the grammar book again in 2022 and add so much more that I've learned from studying the recordings and the stories and fix a few mistakes. So when I revise it, you will see revised written across it. I'll try to keep the chapter numbers the same though, so that I can refer to chapters because the page numbers will be changing. We'll start using the grammar book more now, but probably not covering the topics in the same order as the book. This skinny little book will take us through both beginning and intermediate Maidu. Even though I wrote the grammar book, I still use it all the time to look things up. So don't feel bad if you still have to do this even after a few years of study. I'll see you next time when we'll get into the pronouns. Wédam. I'm done talking now. Yahat bispara.